Okay, we are recording. Phone lines are open and working. You are good to go. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Good evening, everybody. We just arrived here from an exec session where we were meeting with our auditor. And there will be a report at the. So at this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 7:14. Julie, would you do roll call, please?
Barbara Dayton.
Here.
Tim Frazier.
Here.
Dave Conlon.
Here.
Amy Rivera. Here. Todd Rabak.
Here.
And you can all rise to the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will start this meeting in memory of a former employee here. Yeah.
Susan Bennett was at first a parent at Spring School, then a friend, an advocate, a dedicated employee of Spring School for over 30 years. From sending her two sons to Spring School to working in the Learning Center and then becoming the first face and voice of the school in the main office. Susan was dedicated to putting the best of Spring School in front of all to see and experience. Susan Bennett was a very talented person whose background in art was seen in whatever task she was assigned. There was no detail that she felt too small to overlook to the present of the school to the best light possible. From the way she worked with children in the Learning Center to assisting in publishing a district-wide newsletter, Susan was able to put a wonderful polished touch on everything. If a school play was in the works, Susan was involved in the design of the sets, the costumes, the makeup, right down to the program and opening night presentation. When the album was first introduced to the school, Susan was ongoing influencer in all parts of the production. Susan was a person many of the administration staff went to, editing letters or notices. For her many years at the New York Times, crossword puzzling, playing off, and finding just the correct words. If a letter went home to parents that Susan hadn't reviewed, she would cringe if there was a misspelling or a wrong phrase. And she would let the sender know, so the next time they would take advantage of her skills. Her love for the children was felt in every task and activity Susan did. She provided food, a simple touch, a basket of toys under her desk to occupy children. For Susan, it was always about the children of Springs. This school is a much better place because of Susan Bennett for her time that she spent here. We are very fortunate to have her love this school as much. Her children have set up Susan's lunch drawer because children knew that they could go to her and they could be provided with lunch or a snack. So at this time, her children would like to remember Susan Bennett with that benefit. And as of Friday, there was close to $3,000 in the fund. And I spoke to Tim Bennett, her son, who was very grateful for allowing Spring School to keep the memory of their mom alive. And I understand that this school was also very good to Susan Bennett. After she lost her husband, this school employed her and gave her a second. So that story is what Springs is all about. We continue to support community groups.
Thank you very much for sharing that. If we could have a moment of silence, please. As I mentioned, we have a presentation external audit group, the EFPR group.
Well, good evening. As was mentioned, we took the opportunity to review in detail the financial statements and results of our audit for the year ended June 30th of 2021 prior to this meeting.
And also, I should introduce you, you're Douglas.
Yes, I'm Doug Zorman. I'm a partner with the MPR group, and this was our first year doing the external audit. The district had put out what's called a request for proposal. We responded to it, and we were awarded the engagement. This is an area that we specialize in performing audits of New York State-based school districts. So we came in really with a fresh set of eyes. We did a detailed risk assessment of the district. We identified the significant audit areas that were of concern and the internal controls related to those areas. And then we performed detailed testing of the effectiveness of those controls. And we're happy to report back that there were no issues in the operation of any of those. We're issuing what's called an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statements, on the extra classroom activity funds, and of your opinion in accordance with government auditing standards, which is certainly what the district would want to receive, the highest ranking possible. All the records that we requested were readily available. We had outstanding cooperation from management and the entire staff in the business office. Excuse me. Another document that we prepare is what's called a report to the board. It's required communication between an audit firm and the governing body. And that's also a clean report. All the required and allowed communication that everything was appropriate is in there. And as I mentioned, there were no deviations from our audit plan, and everything went according to what we had anticipated as far as the audit goes.
Thank you very much. It's great to hear that we're in good shape. I feel like I learned a lot from our conversation with you. I know that due to some new regulations next year, that we may have additional reporting that has to happen due to the new GASB 87.
Yes.
We may have to do some things differently, but I know we've got a good team for that. So.
Yeah, and we are certainly available. We don't just come out to do the audit and then disappear for a year. If there's ever any questions throughout the year on any type of reporting or accounting treatment, we're there on a year-round basis to respond to those.
Great. Thank you so much for coming out here today to meet with us and for staying for the meeting. We appreciate it, and we will see you again next year, if not sooner.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Is he going to leave?
Yes.
Can he just talk a little bit about his company and experience and whatnot?
Sure. We could, if you want to.
Since he's new?
Sure. I've been a CPA for 35 years. Our company specializes in performing audits of governmental entities. We do over 175 audits on an annual basis. We currently audit some 25 New York State public school districts, including some of the largest municipal districts in the state. As an example, Brentwood and Sachem here on the island are two of the largest municipal districts in the state. We also audit large city school districts, including Albany. Our audit practice in the municipal space covers the entire state of New York. Certainly at this time of the year, we do school districts, but we specialize in the entire. We have a dedicated team of 40 professionals in the firm that only work on government audits on a year-round basis. So in the summertime, we do school districts. In the spring, we're doing towns and villages, public authorities. For a 5-year period of time, we actually audited the single audit for the state of New York and $64 billion that the state received from the federal government. So this is obviously a large practice area for us, and we've got dedicated people that only work in this area throughout the year.
I'd also like to add that he had a lot of experience with small school districts.
Absolutely.
Amagansett is one of the local school districts you also do.
Yeah, out here on the island, we do Amagansett, East Quogue, East Hampton. We do the Fisher's Island, which is probably the smallest district in New York State. With this.
Well, it's comforting that you do that because we are different than larger districts and we have different needs. And again, during our meeting, you were very gracious in articulating your desire as a company to really being that kind of company that works with small and large and really tries to personalize the kinds of things and gets to know, able to get to know our school district and our community, what our needs are.
Absolutely. It is not a one-size-fits-all. Every district has different issues depending on the size, depending on geographic location, depending on the makeup of the community, and we certainly work with the unique attributes of each individual district and each individual client.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmer.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
We have some items of recognition.
I know this is the one that makes you the most uncomfortable, but it has to be said. October is School Board Recognition Week, and it starts today, actually. And on behalf of the students, the teachers, and the community, I have to again recognize this Board of Education, not only for the regular meetings that you've attended, but the capital project meetings, for being visionaries and seeing capital project through during a pandemic and never losing sight of the finish line. And we celebrated that today for the ribbon time. So I have certificates for each one of the board members, and it reads New York State School Boards Association School Board Recognition Week, October 18th to the 22nd, honoring each board member by name for dedicated leadership in public education and continuing service to the children of the community, Springfield School District, signed by myself, dated October 18, 2021. In addition, I'd like the board to accept this photograph that we took from the septic system as a gift for school board's recognition in the new front with the two awards that you received for the septic system. And then a plaque to indicate the awards that you received and when involvement.
Great. Thank you very much, Deb.
And then there's bottles of vinegar from Saratoga.
Thanks, Deb. Thank you so much.
And Pat, we cannot forget our district clerk.
Yes.
Thank you very much for everything. Deborah.
Let me take that one. Okay. So tonight, we were honoring two of our coaches, and ironically, the person that we were honoring them for offered to come and speak tonight to make the board realize how important these coaches were. One of our referees actually took ill during a game, and our referees, our coaches stepped up and did everything right, everything by the book. That was Whitney and Coach King. And our gates worked beautifully. The ambulance was able to get out to the field. And they just did it the way it's supposed to be done, and they actually saved this man's life. And Russ Hoover would like to speak if that's okay with the Board of Education.
Absolutely.
And he had a game today, so it was very appropriate. 10 days later, he's back refereeing.
Today's game was very appropriate because it was a return match between the Springs and East Hampton. So it was where I wanted to be. I was told by several people that it was really not necessary that I show up, but I beg to differ strongly. That day was quite an adventure. As recognized, Whitney and Mr. King both stepped up. I've had experiences over the years, but this one was much worse than I had ever anticipated. And they were good, spectators were good, the kids were exceptional. I understand, having been in education, because I started my career as an educator, and then went other areas, but the officiating has always been something I've done because I wanted to be around kids and the young people. They were exceptional. And one of the things that unnerved me the most was that they were there. And that was part of the reason I came back out here today. I wanted to see them, thank them. Whitney called the hospital a couple of times to find out how I was doing. Mr. King inquired a couple of times. Laura Fody, I officiate basketball with her dad. And if you recognize me from your fundraisers, where you screamed at me several times, she was able to get in touch with her dad, who got in touch with somebody else, who got in touch with somebody else, who found me at the hospital and was able to relay messages for me to Whitney, to East Hampton, to Springs. I'm still undergoing some tests. I'm not sure they know exactly what went on. The only caveat that, or the only caution that my doctor gave me when he said go ahead and officiate was, do it cautiously, don't do it the way you've done it forever. So I pride myself on the effort. I've had to tone it down a little bit, but the one thing I can never thank you enough for was the people who were there, including the ambulance corps and everybody else. And believe me, this was where I wanted to be tonight. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for having a staff that I appreciate a great deal more than I did before, although I appreciated being out here with you before. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you coming out here.
Russ, thank you so much for speaking on behalf of our teachers and for giving them that recognition. I mean, certainly the influence of our teachers goes beyond what we think it is. And this was something very unexpected. To have you come here, it really means a lot. We know how fortunate we are to have our athletic staff that we do, and that you were able to get such quick care. I'm happy to see you here, and it seems like you're in good shape for now, and we really appreciate that.
There's so many negatives in education in sports, and to come out here and spend a few minutes to recognize the positives, including the kids, including the athletes, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'd also like to say that you represent the umpires in this community, all kinds of sports, who are out there day after day supporting our kids. And I don't think you get enough recognition for the great job you guys do. Basketball, volleyball, soccer, whatever it is, it's supporting our children and something that's very valued in this community. It's not easy work, and you have to travel long distances to do it. And I just want you to understand that we really appreciate all the hard work that you guys do to support us here and our students, as well as our staff.
I am gratified to do it. I love doing it. It's, I tell people one unfortunate thing in my life is I don't have kids. I wish I had them. Officiating is like being a grandparent. I can enjoy them for a couple hours, piss them off, and then you get to take them home. Again, thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to being back again.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Nice.
We have one more recognition, another amazing story. Daniela Munez, one of our bus drivers, a couple of weeks ago was driving down Gardner's Lane and saw a child under the age of 2 in the street. She stopped the bus. She called 911. She stayed with the child until police came. Her heart broke to see this 2-year-old out on the street, literally in the street of Gardner's Lane. She saved the young man's life. And the police were very grateful. So I wanted the board and the community to know and recognize Danielle Munez for her exceptional gift that day. one more recognition to the man sitting to my left that joined me in spring school. This is our 5th year together. Mike Henry has decided to retire June 30th. Very sad by that. He's not only our business official, but he's our treasurer. He took on the capital project. He took on all the ESSA grants and additional funding that we received. He does all the FS10s, all the FS10 finals. We've seen only exceptional audit reports since he's been with us. Continues to fund the fund balances for us. The DEC grant, although the application process was started by me, the finals in getting that money is all Mike. Making sure that all the forms are submitted to get the actual money. We did that for the East Hampton grant as well. Mike, we wish you and Kathy only the best in retirement, and are just so grateful that you were here.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's, come to a time that, it's, like I said, COVID, I don't think I ever got over it. It's just taken its toll on me. And Kathy retired back in March, and I think it's time for me to move on, and we can spend more time with the grandkids and my son and really enjoy the fruits of being grandparents.
Mike, thank you very much. You've been a valuable presence here at our school. We have these great reports about our finances because of you, your leadership in that department. Where we'd be without you, it would be very hard to replace you. Not looking forward to that at all.
Neither am I.
But I totally understand where you are and things like you want to do, and I wish you all the best with that. With your family.
Mike, I think today you should be very proud to take us through this capital improvement and have our ribbon cutting today, knowing that you were instrumental in putting this all together for us as a board and for our superintendent, and being a huge part of making it go as smoothly and successfully. Very difficult times, getting materials and supplies, and you're still dealing with the hardships of all those things. But I hope you feel a great sense of accomplishment. What a way to go out, having finished such a great project for the community here in Springs. I don't think people realize what the hard work we put into Deborah, along with all the other things that you do on a daily basis. But you should really have a lot of pride and feel a lot of accomplishment in what you've done here for Springs. It's what we do. Thank you.
The community should rest assured, it doesn't say it on the agenda, but we have until June 2022. So Mike's not leaving us next week. He's going to kind of captain the ship here through the end of the school year, and it's going to give us, as a district, time to hopefully find someone who can try to replace Mike. Everything that's done for our district.
That's our goal. Our goal is to start the process as soon as we can, have Mike finish out the capital project, and at the same time, maybe overlap with another business official to do the budget. Very important for that person to be involved in the budget process.
We'll continue working with Julie and Kelly to make sure that they're doing things the way they're supposed to be done. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Actually, one more item of recognition.
One more. The award is here from the Engineering Excellence Award. The Spring School for its septic system along with H2M received a Diamond Award. Barbara and I were fortunate enough to go into the city to do this recognition in person. And we were the only school district to receive the Diamond Award. There were
Actually, we're the only school district, period. I mean, they have
The
three
only
levels
school
of awards, there's gold, platinum, diamond. We're the only school district. I mean, there were certainly universities that had major work done and municipalities and various things, but the only
it was amazing. It was just good to see Spring School be recognized for the extra efforts that this board and this community went to get a nice 50%
and these two did a great job with that, and we're very, pleased with their work for us, and very proud to be part of the board of this year.
I think you skipped over item 3 on the audit report, accepting the audit reports.
And the recognition.
It's above the recognition.
Sorry, wait.
Okay.
Right.
So let's backtrack. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the audited financial statement for the year ending June 30th, 2021, as completed by its external auditors, EFPR Group LLP. Do I have a motion?
Okay.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. This way we can check off another box for the state, send up that.
So now we have time for our capital project update.
Talk punch list. Talk punch list.
So as you can see, the building is ribbon cutting as it's shown. We're pretty much 100% occupied with all the spaces that were constructed, and including all the interior spaces of the existing building. But now we're down to the toughest part of any construction project. Last 10%, last 5% is getting the final detail work cleaned up, done 100% to close it out. So that entails BBS, RPs, kind of be on top of the contractors to go out and identify things that we see that haven't been completed, or things that were completed and aren't, exactly per specifications and plans that need to be corrected or adjusted. Addressing items at the school, the teachers, the board, whoever's seen items that are identified as missing or incomplete, taking identification of all that, and compiling a list of non-conforming work, which we call a punch list. So that's been completed to the extent that we can with the work that has been done. We haven't gotten into every space yet because some, like the small gym and the stage where music is, weren't complete up until a week or so ago. So now we'll get in and we'll finish those. Take a look at those spaces and include them on the punch list that we've issued. So all the contractors have gotten, let's say, what I would consider to be 75% punch list. So that would be identifying everything that we know that's been completed today, plus things that we need to go back and look at that hadn't been completed yet. So there's still, it's an ongoing process that we're tracking and monitoring, just like we were during regular construction. The only deviation is that it's not a daytime process where the work is being done. It's after school hours. Contractors come in, they have their list, they know what they need to do. Our East is out here and, monitoring that as they had. So Steve's all, about keeping track of, who's here and what they're doing to make sure that the work is progressing. The only thing we haven't gotten from the contractors yet is an actual completion schedule. So now they got their punch list. Now they need to look and evaluate what's on that list, determine what materials are available, what materials may be delayed because of the ongoing shortage of things in the supply chain. So they will be coming back to us, and we'll be requesting from them. We need a completion date on when all this is going to be done so that we can give the board an update as far as by November, December, whatever it's got to be. This is when you guys are out of here once and for all and everything is, wrapped up, and we can then start, looking at the closeout of, final payments and all those sort of things, which will happen after the work is complete. At this point, most contractors have submitted pay requisitions up until this point, and they've all been paid, but this time we need to look and see what money is left on those contracts and say, this is where we need to get you guys back here. There's a certain amount of money left in your contracts. If you continue to do the work and finish everything up, then that's the point at which you'll be paid what's left. So that's kind of where we need to be. It's difficult at times to get the contractors to fully manage a job at this point, since it is night schedule and it is work that doesn't demand an army of people to be out here, but it does require attention, and it does require that they take care of what needs to be done in a timely fashion, so it's not lingering until June, so we can let Mike leave on a good note and not have to be worrying about what didn't get done. But I am pleased to say that, when looking around the work that's been complete, there are a lot of little items on the punch list, if you get a chance to take a look, that are superficial. I mean, there's some blemishes that need to be addressed and taken care of. There are some things that are maybe a little more involved that need to be either completed or were partially done, and due to lack of material haven't been 100% taken care of yet, which are a little more involved. But I would say for the most part, looking around at the work that was done, it looks terrific. I got to say there's been a lot of care put into the effort, that was done to get everything done from the point where we were looking at it early August till now. It was an amazing transformation, to get it to that point. So it is an ongoing process as you hear from the teachers or anybody that sees things that don't appear to be right. Obviously, give us some sort of indication or let us know. We can include that on the punch list if it hasn't already been on there, and we will continue to update our monitoring of the punch list to make sure when things are completed, check it off, go back and look and see whether or not we accept the work that was done or if it needs to be further corrected. So that's the point where we're at with trying to get everything done. You've, I guess, all seen a copy of the punch list that's been submitted.
There's several for different.
So each contractor will have their own, because it is 5 different contracts. So we have to break it up that way so that each, like the plumber will get his list of work, the mechanical contractor will get his list of work to be done, and they're all working from their own independent lists. Some work overlaps. And if that is the case, we would indicate it on both lists. If it was a general contract, like working in a bathroom along with a plumber, there's some work that in those spaces tend to overlap. We would make sure that that work that is involving both trades appears on the list, so to make sure it's taken care of.
I know one of the lists had things are put on like in September, but it doesn't look like they've been done yet. So is that because everyone's trying to finish up some things that really have to get done, and you go back and work off the list to fix smaller things after?
September was our target for getting out once things were more or less ready for us to come in and look. So you'll see a lot of dates on there that would kind of to September. And we've been out looking things as what's been happening. So some things may have already been completed on there. We just haven't gone back. We've got indications. What happens, the contract has to come basically to us, let us know, hey, the work on the list is complete. Come out and do a final so we can close it out. And when we come out here on occasion to do spot check stuff, we do walk around and look at more of the items that we're more concerned about to see whether or not those were completed or in the process of being completed. So we haven't gotten our second look. We were going to, once the small gym and the music room on the stage were complete, we were going to come out, do those punch lists of those spaces, and then go around and look on the list of work that was identified in September, early September, to start seeing what we could check off. And then we can now go back and say, okay, contractors completed 20 of the 50 items, and say, okay, you have 30 remaining. When are you getting these done? So it's when we can be out here, we weekly we were having our meetings and weekly visits. We still continue to come out here on those occasions to make sure the work is being complete.
Okay. Certainly, loose ends tie up. But overall, I mean, things look great, and you had such a successful ribbon cutting today. And, our guests were so impressed, I think, with the meeting spaces and the design and how everything looked. It was really very successful. Thank you, PDF and Sparky, for all your work on that. I know our community really can value what we have. People really want it.
Yeah, it's there's things that'll continue to be put into working order. I know there's some things in the gym that's still being worked out, and finalize like the wall and controllability of certain things. So that's, stuff that we're really more concerned of, there's still things that needed to be done so that you can actually really utilize those spaces. We haven't even seen the full potential of some of these spaces yet, unfortunately, due to certain things that, are somewhat incomplete, that really, it's not helping you, obviously, for your programs and classes and things that need to be, be able to divide that space into two and have two different things going on. That was the whole purpose of that. So at this point, it's kind of holding back what you ultimately want to do, but you're still getting functionality in its full space capacity at the time. So it's nice to see the kids in there enjoying it, and being loud and running around and that sort of thing, and especially outside, not just the inside spaces, but the fields, playground, all those things. It was great to see all that happening as you would expect it to be, or as your vision really wanted it to be. I think the whole lengthy discussions that we were having at the opening of school with circulation and traffic patterns, seeing it play out today was really beneficial to that.
Being here while kids were.
I was here for bus one at evening dismissal.
Okay.
You were on call line?
I was observing it from a distance. I wasn't in it. But no, I was, rather, the way it flowed and worked, I think it was a testament to your consideration for how things really needed to be done to make it as seamless of a process or flow and for the safety of everybody involved. So I could really work that well. I'm glad to see that. And there's still work that's to be done in the playground. We're working with the contractor to address a few of the pieces in there that need to be removed. And the hold up on that right now is the availability of the cushion material, the safety surface. Once that material is in hand, then the contractor will have to come back and remove the pieces that are there that need to be removed, and then they can patch that surface around them so that there'll be no, we should want to take it out now and leave an opening in that surface, because then it can be a problem.
Shooting for right around November 5th, where those to be removed and shortly thereafter the surfacing to be repaired. November 5th, 6th, right around that window.
We also have work that was not part of the original contract, but it was involving additional landscaping for the privacy of the neighboring properties. So we have been given the direction to the contractor to proceed with getting the plantings that will be necessary for that. And I'm not sure what that time schedule is.
That's on the agenda under finance as well as under capital. John Longo estimates $375 for each plant, arborvitae's. He's saying 10 the most. It could be less, but 10, he would like approval for 10, would be $3,750.
And the 10 is up to 375 one.
Yeah, $375 for each plant.
Yeah, doesn't say how many.
He's recommending 10.
No, the way,
Do you have any questions? I don't know if John Longo gave you information about the plans.
For the trees, for the screening or for the regular contract?
No, for the screening for the neighbors' house.
Just in that the species that was identified there, and it's per cost per unit of tree to be planted, whether it's 5 or it's 10, it's going to be the same.
They're 6 foot to 7 foot tall. Western.
they grow fast.
Yeah.
So there's a fast growing tree there. We talked about that, we talked about that. Yeah, so actually, let's talk about first half. First. Multiple slides. Are you speaking next, Derek? Or you just
We could take your questions.
No, I don't want to, you already going to answer the question I was asking.
I'm gonna try to answer it.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you some timeframes associated with how this rolls out. As Jim mentioned, the last 5 to 10% is typically the hardest portion of the job to finish. That's why we need key gentlemen like Stephen Bourget to be on site daily, really put a thumb on the contractors. Now that the punch lists are rolling in, we're starting to solicit schedules from each of the contractors related to it. We expect to have all the schedules within 2 weeks from today, maybe sooner. Some of the items on that, as you mentioned in September, are dated. Several or many of those items have been completed to date. And the process is Park East will do a preliminary review. We will confirm if we agree that the contractor has completed it. Once the contractor states they completed it, Park East has done the preliminary review. We'll jointly tell BBS and they'll do the final review and acceptance of the punch list items. So we expect a few more punch lists to start rolling in over the next couple of days. For the ones that we have in our possession, as we stated, within the next week to 2 weeks, we'll have schedules from the contractors. But they're working here this evening. Electricians are starting back up tomorrow. And in the next week, we really expect to see decent sized crews back in Springs, really hammering out the punch list and trying to get it completed, I would say, beginning of December. As Jim mentioned too, we are experiencing some delays with materials. The good news is all the materials that are missing are in fabrication. They're being manufactured. We expect a lot of those materials to be rolling in over the next couple of weeks. For example, the Grain Tech doors, I don't know if you noticed on the walkthrough, there's some temporary metal doors in the corridors. In the tech room, there's probably 12 to 15 of these doors. So those are expected to arrive at the beginning of November. Once they arrive, they'll be installed very quickly after. The gutters and leaders, you had some flooding issues. I don't know if you noticed, but there's white gutters up in the front. Those are temporary gutters. The permanent gutters are going to be green to match all the other brake metal on the project. That green material has an extended delivery time. We're expecting that to come in mid to end of November. Again, once it arrives, the contractor's committed to installing it immediately thereafter. They're currently completing the metal fascia around the building. They're probably about 70% complete. They plan to be complete by Tuesday next week. Garage doors. You have 2 garage doors, one for that portable building, one for the new garage. Those are expected to come mid-November. Projector screens. This is one of the longest items that we have. It's about 2, this is the lifts for the projector screens in the new gym. And those are about 2 months out. They started off with a 4-month lead time. So they were ordered late by the contractor, unfortunately. That combined with the extended manufacturing time, unfortunately, those will not be ready until probably December, mid-December. But that is, I would imagine, probably one of the last items that will be installed in this district. Everything else should be completed by the time those arrive and are installed. The 2 chair lifts, we project by the end of October to be up and operational with training. You're missing some pieces of glass at the front entry here and at the mid entry. We expect those to come in and be installed by the end of October. Keying, there were some issues with the keying throughout. The contractor is committed to readjusting the cores that are in the doors so that both keys will function on the doors. And we expect that to happen at the end of October. Volleyball sleeves, I know it's a big push because volleyball season is starting. We don't have a full commitment, called a partial commitment, and we are shooting for the end of next week for those to be completed. I think by tomorrow, Thursday at latest, we'll have a firm commitment and we'll share that with the administration.
Very important there because it means changing location for needs.
Something like that, was that an oversight, or was that something that was always going to be?
It was always part of the plans. The contractor, to the best of my knowledge, had an issue with their subcontractor. They had to change subcontractors because of a dispute that, frankly, we're not fully aware of what that dispute ranged over. They have hired another contractor who did the wall pads and other work. They're a known entity, Nickerson, and they are going to be installing the volleyball sleeves. So was an internal issue with the general contractor. Again, everyone recognizes the importance of that, and Steve is going to be all over them, making sure that those are installed sooner than later. I just, like I said, I'll have a firm date by the end, in the next couple of days, and we'll share that so you know. But no matter what, we'll have them installed by the end of next week. Phones. There's a handful of phones that get switched from desk mount to wall mount, and those are expected to be delivered this Friday and installed on Monday. And Jim spoke about the playground. So those are really the key items. The parking lot lighting. So we're dealing with the electrical contractor on that item. He's been out here a few times. He was out here Friday. He thought he fixed it. Then we came in today. We saw the lights were on during the day again. So he has electricians scheduled to come out here tomorrow to reinvestigate what the issue is with the lighting programming.
Is that JDR?
Yes.
There has to be a way for the district to be able to adjust those lights too, that we can't be married to an electrical company every time we have to reset lights.
Yeah, I don't believe that to be the case. He did share some diagrams with us outlining how to program it, and it wasn't, I know originally someone said an iPad had to be used. That was for the original programming. There is general programming within the system, so on daylight savings or stuff of that nature where you need to adjust it, the district will be able to adjust it themselves and not rely on an electrician. Once we get it doped out what the current issue is, there'll be a formal training to whoever the district selects to participate in that training. Typically it's the head custodian, head of facilities, whoever you want. They'll spend an hour or two showing those individuals how to specifically adjust, modify that programming of that system. Any questions?
No.
Adam? Thanks.
You talked with Jim or Derek about some of our concerns from last week. We had a meeting. That's something we want to talk about now.
Okay.
What's the progress?
On you heard about the doors.
No, it was the change orders on the playground, the electrical, we were getting all the last minute change orders, stuff that was made from the original plan.
No, we requested a meeting with Fred Seba, and we haven't heard from him. I don't know if Jim, if he's been in touch with you.
No, I haven't, he hasn't spoken to me about that yet.
Okay. So under the direction of our attorney, we'll be sending a letter requesting a formal meeting to talk about all the changes.
Yeah, just to follow up on that one, because you guys have done such a good job, just get some clarity on some of the things, like the playground and the phones, things like that,
Right, understood.
some costs that we've absorbed.
Right, understood. Yeah, I know, Fred's been very much in the loop with this project as one of the partners of the firm, as well as Kevin Walsh, and his background being more of the engineering side of the project and in charge of all the engineering staff. He's been kind of kept abreast of any of the concerns and things that we've come up against during construction, whether it be contractor related, design related, oversight, those sort of things. So yeah, I think it would be so that he's would certainly participate in, or whenever that meeting needs to be, we'll be there.
Yeah, we'd like that, to be a face-to-face meeting with the higher ups at UPS.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have no concern about the change orders that's what's being. And by our attorney, we have to go to the attorney to discuss this, that's protocol.
No, we made the phone call because Fred wasn't getting back to me about having a meeting. And I asked the attorneys what's the next step. And
Okay, so you put phone calls in.
An email was what the request was, and now it'll be a formal request for a meeting. Mike and I will sit with PBS and come back to the board with what the conversation is, weighing all of our options. You know, what was a design floor? What was something that was an unknown that nobody could have known? Like when I spoke to Fred, he said that if we had known about that in the beginning, we would have paid more for that anyway. Like,
Right, but we would have budgeted for that.
Correct.
Because some of those budgets, the next time, you know, it's always, you know, well, I'm not saying this item per se, but if it's time for the playground, with this much money, and we knew we had to spend money on something else, we couldn't spend that much money on it. You budgeted the money all around, you know.
Like let's use the playground as an example.
Use the trailers, let's use the 2 trailers, that's the simplest one. Now, see, we got the playground, 2 trailers.
The 2 trailers, absolutely, who puts in a trailer without thinking about the electrical?
Yeah, but there was always budgeted money for the trailers, whether the electrical was in the design or we missed it, it was always going to be, it was inclusive of electrical work. The trailers were specified, they were included in our original estimates and our budgets, so that was always part of the project.
So there was a change going on.
I know it was a change, I'm saying the money was always identified in the projects up front when we were designing the project. It just in the design, construction documents, there was a so it wasn't like we didn't have it covered in the money for the project, it was always there.
That's to have the conversation with Fred, is it was always in the design, whatever went to bids, why wasn't it in the bids?
Because that's when I explained that there was an oversight on our part when we were trying to get the project out to bid and the review and the coordination, where it didn't show up or didn't align that those units were there. The specification information wasn't given to the electrical engineer. He thought it was one product. It wasn't given the specifics on the design or the product that was supposed to have the electrical requirements that it did need. It always had plug-ins, but it wasn't that type of unit that was going to work with just an outlet. It needed the disconnects, it needed the phone connectivity, it needed, you know, other specific features because it was a permanently installed unit. So we always had it in the design when we came up with the budget for the building. The budget was for permanently installed wheelchair lifts. And the design, the electrical engineer thought it was just the mobile lifts that would get moved into those locations, and there was only able to plug outlet.
I think if you guys have a sit-down conversation with them and go over it, maybe we can hopefully try to set that up so we have some information by our next meeting. Just get us an answer to something.
Yeah, and Mike has a comprehensive look.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Any other questions at this time?
Just a brief question about the landscape. You know, on this, talking about directly about the cover, but actually one of the former board members asked me a question today about the planning, like who decided on what plants go where, whether they're deer resistant or not, and is there any kind of guarantee or warranty on those plantings, so that if, you know, deer did eat them and they were put in with the knowledge that deer would eat them, why would they chosen to put in that kind of plant, knowing that because of the deer population here in our community, they will probably be eaten?
Well, we don't know that they're not. So, you know, I just think, you know, that's the.
Well, I guess my question has to do with, is there some guarantee that the choices, you know, were made so that we wouldn't be replacing them because of the choices they made up front?
Right. So the landscaping that was selected, to my knowledge, our landscape architect was aware of the, you know, the deer population. We've been out here multiple times looking at that field before it was what it is. You would see herds of deer out there. So I'm speaking on his behalf, but not on his knowledge that, you know, that was taken into consideration, but it would need to get, you know, firm.
It'd be nice to know if there's some kind of warranty attached to that. Most landscapers do have some kind of guarantee of their plantings.
Yeah, as far as the, like, let's say a deer wasn't the issue, it was just it plants, right. It doesn't take, it dies. Right. They plant 12 of them in an area, 3 of them die. Those, the contractor would be responsible to replace due to those causes, but as far as deer having a specific like in that plant and eating it, whatever, the contractor would not be responsible for that replacement.
Well, it then goes back to my question of why would you put a plant in there?
Why would he put it in?
Yeah, to begin with, if he's a landscape contractor.
Yeah, I don't know,
So that's the question I would have, it'd be nice to see a list of those plants and how deer resistant they are, actually, that would be nice to know.
Yeah,
There are plants sitting, not planted outside for an extended period of time. It looks like they're all in the ground now, which is good, but, I think.
There's still mulch that needs to go in some of those
Yeah, I guess,
beds
yeah.
and stuff,
But it was
like
just
the
like,
plants themselves.
I just wasn't sure why they were delivered, if they had nowhere to go yet. But Tim's question's a good one, so I think we can get an answer to that.
A lot of times, landscaping yard, whatever, will deliver the plants to a site, much like we get wood delivered to a building before it's ready to go in, it gets to acclimate. Same thing here, if it's coming from a nursery, probably a nearby nursery, I would imagine, but if, it's some distance away, they might want to just get them here so that it's in the environment that it's going to be put into. Gives them a chance to, adjust, even though they're not going in the ground that day. The problem there sometimes is plants tend to walk, or if the deer like them, they have one place to notch them. But I do think everything that was delivered got installed within a week's time or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really pretty and very nice, and again, we weren't expecting that extent. At least I wasn't. I think it looks great. I'm just a little worried because we all live in this environment where, if we want to keep plants in our yard, they're gated. There's a gate or a fence, and if the deer does get into the fence, they can devastate it in the middle of the night. They just eat it all. So that's just the only concern I have.
Okay. I definitely, John would be able to tell me pretty quickly where his thought process was with what he selected. So I'm not very.
And sometimes the best information about deer-resistant plants, somehow the breed of deer out on the east end, they eat things they know they'll eat it up. Like,
hungry. I know they like hostas.
Yeah, they love hostas, and they,
I don't see many of those.
No, there's no hostas. A lot of perennials, a lot of perennials.
Hydrangeas don't make it on the list either, so.
I know it was last week, but only last week,
2 weeks ago.
Okay, so the grass out there, we had concerns, there was browning, there was flooding on it, we looked into that further yet?
On the main field?
Yeah.
Well, they aerated and overseeded it.
Yeah, they did core aerating.
What's that?
Land that core aerated and overseeded the whole field.
Okay, and did you find out what the one underneath the sod was? There are 2 points out about that. There were some areas that were really wet, as one baseball field, right?
On third base.
Along out directions, closest to the building, that whole side. You walk from one end, one goal mouth to the next field goal mouth, down the third base line, and it was very mushy, very wet.
Steve and I will take a look at it tonight, and then we'll follow up with Mike tomorrow. Get back to you.
I might want to see what's going on. That's what we're talking about.
You hear it.
Yeah, I think because of all the rain, I think the sprinkler system wasn't set and it was going on at different times and maybe too much water, and then all the rain we've had lately also doesn't help that.
Has the sprinkler been reset?
Yeah, they've been adjusted.
Okay.
So you looked at them last 2 weeks.
I have not looked at it, but I will look at it
look
tonight, and we'll look at it tomorrow, and we understand your concern. We'll look at it in the next couple of days, and we'll reach out to Land Tech if we feel there's any issues, and we'll share with the district our findings.
Mike's going to brought up our attention, actually, I think that's what it is, some of the grass was turned around, and also there was a lot of flooding in that one area.
Actually, less brown tails. Right.
Yeah, the browning is gone.
It looked good.
Yeah.
We'll add it to the list and definitely take a look and get back to it.
The one list that hadn't been issued, and you'll see in your package, was landscape, for the company doing field work and the site work. John Longo has been kind of directing Land Tech pretty much daily as far as work that's still ongoing or needs to be addressed or corrected as it's being completed. So he hasn't put together a formal list of open items or yet to be completed items, but he's told me that he's going to be, that's something that he's working on, but he's been spending a lot more time just trying to focus on getting the things done on the fly as opposed to, going back, compiling a list, giving it to the contractor, they come back a week later, and then they were much more receptive to him being out here and going through everything that he knows needs to be done and just kind of working directly with them in the field to take care of what needs to be done, right away. With the opening of school and just after, and I guess continual since. So now we're at the point where get a list together, let's get it to them, and now this, I'll bring it to his attention about this area. Maybe he's aware of it, perhaps not, just so that it doesn't lose, doesn't fall off the radar. So yeah, the new courtyard, we had mentioned in the last board meeting about getting information from a contractor that we work with that was synthetic turf for courts, so tennis courts and things. It wouldn't be like a football field type of turf where you have rubber granules. This is more of a infill. It's kind of more like a granular sand, but I think it's still a synthetic material. But once you put it down, it looks like a grass surface. Has a little bit of stability to it, where you could put tables and chairs on, and it wouldn't be as squishy. It's I think it's a good alternative for the courtyard area. So, given the complete layout of what that space is now, square footage and everything, so that we can hopefully get a number from them for what it would take to install that product in that space. That's part of the contract is for all that, the weeds that have been growing in there are now, taking over, so they got to basically strip all that out, put down topsoil, put down seed, and you got to get your grass growing so it doesn't get overtaken by the weeds.
And by the way, thanks for taking the sign out of the front. That was well noticed.
That was Land Tech. That was courtesy of Land Tech.
Did you ever get that PVC pipe on the ground? That was kind of dangerous thing. That was a piece of PVC about this far out.
Up in the front?
Yeah.
No problem.
I went by a couple times. I didn't get hurt on that.
When are the balusters going in for the car line?
Sorry, say that again.
Those balusters?
That's decorative ones.
So they're on site. I think for now, it was just now let's get, the flow of people getting used to things coming out. So John will, speak to you a little bit more about that and, specifically where they need to go and how they need to be located, considering, doors that are opening. You don't want to be too close to the curb with the bollards because door swing open can, do some damage. His concern, I think, is, the activity in the front of the building, kids coming out of the car, running to the door to see a friend. If these bollards are in a way that they don't really see them, they may run into them. So I think just wants to make sure that everyone's clear as to where they're going to go and getting them installed. They're here. It's just a matter of getting them.
They're posts, and that is to prevent a car from jumping the curb and crashing into kids that are standing waiting to get into a car.
Right.
And they put them in so many feet. So really
probably
a
about
car.
10 of them, 10 or 12 of them that go along, just along the curb line with the entrances to the building. Everything else doesn't have it, but doesn't have sidewalk area.
But
just in
it's
front of the building.
further enough away that it won't matter if we open up a car door. It's really to prevent a car from jumping that curb. God forbid, a parent doesn't feel well and steps on the gas instead of the brake. They don't crash into the kids that are literally standing waiting for their parents. And that to me is a safety issue, and it should have been in before now. And they are on site. It's not a supply issue. It's when are they being put in?
We'll tell the contractor to do it immediately. I mean, they're here, so there should be no reason that they can't put it in. John will have a conversation with you. I just want him, it's his work,
I know.
he's responsible, that he's, just wants to make sure they're aware of certain things.
When you go over the second bump, you make a turn, after you come in through the entrance? Are we decide we're gonna keep that 2 lanes all the way through the parking area?
Yes.
We are. Okay, so if we're gonna do that, sometimes I worry about if you're in the right lane and you make the right turn, I hit that curve. It's where the first parking spot is on the right. Follow me?
It's where the code was.
Yeah, exactly.
It's where that concrete sort of juts out of
Yeah.
there, the cement
Yeah,
there.
we moved that
There's like
one
a little
cone forward.
protrusion that's sort of rounded on the end.
Oh,
And
this
if
is
you have
under
both lanes turning right,
Okay.
after you go over the second hump,
Right.
you start turning into the parking area, you have to go all the way down
Mm,
2 lanes going in the same direction. If you're in the right lane, the curve on the right side
oh, you
is
kind of
really tight.
skim
The
that
car's
curve.
on the right side.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
You notice it, Frank?
I hit it.
You have a big truck, it's okay. if you-
Yeah, but 90% of the people in Springs have big trucks.
And
Not
it's-
me.
And it's tight with
The
no
warrant
car,
is,
no car parking on the spot.
Right.
Now, I haven't seen many cars parked that far back, but
No.
nonetheless,
Yeah.
you're
Right.
still gonna hit.
I don't think it's the code that does it. The code wasn't there.
But the code needs to be there because we decided to keep it 2 lanes. Instead of merging right there.
You're not gonna turn, it's, not from the color no more. But then, I thought we were originally gonna do 2 lanes up to that point there, there's be 1 lane coming.
Well, that's what we were talking about.
We're trying to push that back to the entrance of the teacher's parking lot, so they're still coming all the way up,
I mean, I personally think we should merge.
back by the entrance to the parking lot.
Yeah, then you wouldn't have to do anything about
Yeah.
that curve.
Yeah,
You'd be
because-
merging,
Yeah.
into 1 lane.
There's an email, there's a post going around on one of the websites, on social media is that what's happening is when they're coming up, the parents are actually fighting with each other to get into 1 lane. There's nobody there directing them, and they're fighting with each other, who's gonna go first?
They have to take turns.
Well, obviously, we gotta go back there and.
Sounds like the HOV lane.
Yes, I'm just saying, that's,
I know Pat's ordering more cones, so.
So I think, there's a possibility that we could try, but making it 1 lane in that area and having people going in just in the 2 lanes by the road. And if people end up backing up on the road again, if there's not enough room, then you
Go back to 2 lanes again.
Up there. But if that's enough.
Fast pass.
Yeah,
Late pass.
Late pitch.
I wish there was a way, and I know the school don't, and we talked about this last month. Parents are getting this in college, go back to 2 lanes when we originally designed. Those 2 lanes, I don't, do you really
He
need
means
them
two,
one?
he means 1 way in and 1 way.
One lane in, 1 lane in. It was designed that way, I mean,
Okay, it was never really, my book was never designed that way. When we said, let's create this space over here, I had a conversation with Kevin Hall, I said, let's open this space here, give us more space. If that's not enough, then we can make 2 lanes in that space going in, and that will get everyone. But my book, I was completely surprised to see that being a 2 railroad.
I was under the assumption it was gonna be 2 lanes, this way the teacher staff was staffing that parking lot to drive out the whole
It
town.
was created to get cars off.
Because we were trying to eliminate the bottleneck over here. At the end of the day, there's a bottleneck at the end of Old Stone Island and School Street, right here. When you come into School Street, you go to School Street, you go to Old Stone Highway, there's a bottleneck all the way back this way, 11 people. Let's see, you either make a right or a left.
I thought they can't make a left.
No, the school, they can make a left down the end of the road.
No, you should be able to make a left hand.
So the bottleneck coming back this way because the only way out of school is this way. And so we visually intended, maybe I'm wrong, that you would have to make, come out, go back down the Old Stone Highway, make your right to go over that way.
That was never the original plan. The original plan was to have everybody be go on, exit onto School Street and could knock me over with another one. I saw that they put up a 2-way right there.
Kind of like a double yellow line.
Yes,
Which is since been removed.
Yes, yeah.
But now you want the 2 lanes coming together, you're gonna do 2-lane roads, then you have to make a bottleneck.
Yeah, I think we should think that.
Merging there.
At the end of the 2 lanes.
Well, I mean, I think the way to do it would be to let parents know, we're gonna do a test period for 2
Right.
weeks. we're gonna, now this is just gonna be one way in the middle there. If we can keep people on the Old Stone Highway, then we'll see how that works. We'll try this out for 2 weeks. Doesn't work, then we go back to the other way. And do a test run to see of each of us, that shouldn't be too confusing if you spell it out for people.
Yeah, the morning is not an issue because of the early drop off.
Yeah.
It really flows nicely. The way I don't think we doubled up at all.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
Right.
And the afternoon, you have 4 to 5 votes. 5 votes. Out in the afternoon.
that's helped a great deal. Great deal. And unless somebody is out there to double them up, it's not happening. They're single. They are.
Well, I think there's a very limited area with double lines right now. There's no lane. I think we need a longer area with the dashed lines so people know that they're supposed to be using both lanes.
When is John Longo coming back out again?
I have to ask, he's resigning this afternoon, I can sure he'll be willing to come out next week sometime.
Okay, if he could come out next week, that'd be great.
I mean, the alternative is if it's too tight there, we have to do some retroactively shave some of that off so you actually have space for it to have people, turn. You don't want somebody to.
You don't want anybody hitting
Or
anybody.
something running over that.
If you hit it enough, Pat, it'll probably knock it back, so.
Bang it so it's flush. Going over it.
Put a plow head on top of it, in front of your truck, and they'll take it.
Oh, my God.
I'm not the only guy with
No, you're
a
not.
4-door pickup truck that lives in the spring because
Believe me, I'm such a bad driver, I park out front where nobody else does.
I have to tell you, this parking lot out here at 7 o'clock in the morning is full.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of early birds coming.
We do.
That's Cool Street.
So we're good. If it's on this punch list, we can assume that either UBS or the contractor is going to honor this punch list.
Yeah, the contractors, everything that's on there is what they're
There's
responsible
been a
for.
case where the teacher came up with something to add to the punch list. And
It's a living document at this point, until we say it's complete. There's no deadline to it, other than we want it to be done by this point, but if the contractor says, oh, well, it works to be done by December 15th, and it's done December 15th, and December 20th, you find something, it's still, until we close them out and sign a final check to them, they're on the hook to take care of the work that's gotta be taken care of.
I'm going to throw a good one at you. When will the business office be done?
The what?
The business office. When is it going to be done more than?
Well, there's some there's some wood trim work that needs to be done on there, what else? So technically it's move-in ready, the spaces.
Right?
The paint, yes, it's paint that needs to be done, but as far as.
Ideally, is get them moved in, so we just tell them off site, right?
Yes.
So, put the plan use on that trail.
I think by the middle of next week, we could get the wood trims in and get it,
Paint corrected, so it looks.
eliminate
Ready.
most of the punch list within that space would be ideal.
And that's get them to
Julie,
the school.
do you want to share your move-in date for that?
Yeah, we're looking at a time, we have so much to pack, and we have to move around, being unbooked and not working and doing payroll. So we're looking to start moving November 10th.
2 weeks,
Close to
3
it,
weeks.
yeah. So by the time we pack everything up, the furniture has to be brought over here, and then we have to bring all the boxes in, unload them. So by the time all that happens and they get hooked up, we have to be ready to work, by that Monday. So it's going to take 4 or 5 days to get everything moved and what have you. So we're going to have movers who help move stuff in this building come and help us do that.
And that's Veterans Day
And
the
be
10th.
able to function.
And you would like to wait for her to conference for the first week.
November 2nd.
Correct. And Linda and I plan to move in sooner, because I don't have that much stuff, and Linda just has a little bit.
I
So.
think Jocelyn's desk and Linda are going to move prior to us moving.
Right, but you can't do any of that until it's done. Right?
Right.
You can plan all dates you want, but I'm not, you're not gonna.
But this gives us time also.
We've done well before that with the punch list, so November 10th, without a doubt, every item, including punch list, will be done in that area.
But this is the first time is, it wasn't the hurt to do anything planned for moving to November 10th.
We actually just today,
Yeah,
we just today decided because we need to look at the calendar and Mike and I are going to be at conference the first week in November.
We have payroll.
We can't use that plus the week before that's payroll.
And you're
We
working
can't
on
disconnect.
GASB, he's working on,
EST3.
Payroll, your reports
So this
that
week
we
is
do,
shot.
so that was the only date. So we kind of came up with that date this morning, so we ran it by Deb. And Barbara stopped by, so.
we did her with it too.
She asked what we were doing and I gave her an idea. So right now, that's the tentative plan. Unless something comes up. That's what we can do. We still have to call the movers, we're hoping nothing will back in it. So that's tomorrow's plan.
Well, then, it's also, I don't know, it's Belfast. It's nice and nice saying November 10th. That I should like to move in because I don't know what other staff members think, but we're outside the building. We're not in this building. With the land and how they pay it into the office, I'm assuming it's the building contractor, but if you decide that's where you need to go, that's fine. But from the outside looking in, you're being delayed because of construction. You're not, you're being delayed because something would take to happen.
Up until now, we have been kind of delayed the construction, so we didn't really have a firm date. Now that we've got more of a firm date that it's going to be ready for us to occupy, we've been just trying to kind of hold things off because we also have furniture that has to come in and we can start working.
Thank you.
thank you, Deborah.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Deborah, thanks for sending Steve.
You're welcome.
He's a lifesaver.
Steve, tell your wife I said thanks for letting you come to see us.
Have a good, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah,
Get home safe.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, time for public commentary number one. If anybody in the audience or who is watching on LTV have a question or concern about any of our board business items, which would be personnel or finance, this would be the time to ask that question.
You have 0 calls on the lines.
Okay, Matt, if that changes, let us know. In the meantime, we will move ahead.
Personnel. Have a couple of amendments here. Amend the due date of Juana Loja. When we originally approved her, we didn't count the first year that she was with us as a teacher. And that was changed to September 7th, 2024. Amend the appointment of Devin Coy. As you know, he's decided to go back to a 4-day-a-week substitute rather than the 5-day-a-week. So that's amended. Amend the literacy stipend for literacy coordinators. I had the wrong level there. They're level 2s. Apologize for that. We are losing Francine Connor. She is currently a TA. She's resigning from a position to accept a position at East Hampton as a lead replacement in AP English. So something that she's certified in, and wish her well. These are your additional stipends for extracurricular. We gave you a partial list the last time, and this completes the list for this year. 6th grade advisor is new for our McCormick. The KA STEAM coordinator is a new position funded by one of the grants. I'm sorry I didn't put that there. Sean Knight, middle school play director, same people as previous years. Megan Kelly, Lander Lego, Laura Marino, Concept Design, robotics coach Laura Fody. The greenhouse is a new position, level 1. Renee Robinson has already started working with her kids in the greenhouse as part of SACS, but also staying after school to clean that out. It will be inspected by the electrician and the plumber night. Plumber's been on site, is coming back again. Lucy Yardley was a mentor 0.5 last year. She has to mentor for an entire year, so that's the other half. Elizabeth Crowley is going to mentor our new PE health teacher. Ray is going to mentor the new social studies teacher, Biggs. Laura Marino is mentoring Morgan Bob, who not only got her art certification, but just told me today she got certified in special ed. So she's moving. Whitney is our athletic director, who's been working since, but I don't think she took any time off. She just went from last year into July. So she's on there. Amend the salary of Deborah Murray. She's the lead replacement, as you know, for reading. She did receive her master's. We received her master's transcript, so I'm not able to update that to the master's level. Step one, when you originally approved her, you did it for our bachelor's. Lori Booth is going to provide ABA services at home to a student. Substitute, Sarah Manu as an uncertified substitute TA. Salary adjustments are there. I did these with Suzanne. I reviewed all the transcripts for these individuals. You have several teachers that are MA 60. That is the highest that their contract goes up to. So what that does for us budget-wise is helps us be able to forecast future out. You do have a batch of really young teachers that are in their fourth year, so they'll be coming up to that MA 60 probably within a year. It usually takes them 5 years if there's no maternity leaves in there. You figure 15 credits a year to get to the 60. It's about 4 years, 5 years at the top. You have nice retirement there.
On the mentors from 5 godly,
Yes.
probably on the no amount after that. You have all the other stuff, all the other fees in there. Your prices. Just for STA, I think that's all it says. Just for STA contracts.
Some of it's like certificate credits, like in-service credits, or, no, I'll look and see what it is.
Yeah, that's the way it was worded on the previous board agenda, correct?
Yeah, I'll look and see what it is.
That be already included in the 51,000?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up.
When you did the total, I don't think that.
I mean, no, 51,329 is the base salary. That's a VA step one. That's what the rates are based off of. So when you see level one, year one, it's 3.5%.
Yeah, well, whatever the total, is there a total here? You can
No,
total it up.
No.
All right, see those numbers.
Yeah.
I would like to see also for the,
Yeah.
Okay, so do I have a motion to move personnel items A and B and D through J to consent agenda?
motion.
Second? All in favor? And then for item C, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby amends the following stipends to be level 2 as per the collective bargaining agreement between UFSD and Free Teachers Association. Literacy was, do I have to read that out? You're going to have what's there? Or just,
I'm sorry? No,
am I,
she doesn't have to read the whole resolution on that.
No.
okay. For the two literacy work here. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Excuse me.
Okay, finance.
Yeah, the first part of the finance, item 8, is for its informational reports, the appropriation status report for the month ended September 30th, and the revenue status report for the month ended September 30th. Have been provided for your review and information. Going to finance item 9, you've got the warrants for September, the major expenditures report that goes along with it. You've got the claims audit report for the month of September, the treasurer's reports for the months of July, August, and September. There's an agreement with the Deborah Foundation for a special ed student that will be attending there. Item E is the resolution for the plantings of the trees from Land Tac. Item, what's that?
The planting.
Go ahead.
My question is, where we put the planting, how many, it just says each, and you're saying it might be 10 of them, where are they going?
They're going alongside the car line block, the car line from the neighbor's house. Their house is all glass, and although we put some rhododendrons there, they're too short. I think I shared with you a video that the homeowners took from their house.
My concern is that, you know, one tenant in the neighborhood found out. We got some more of it. If the neighbors on this side, so they don't make them to school, we don't put fence on this side. I understand the call lines there, you know. We're doing it as a courtesy to the neighbor, spending $3,700 to block out that neighbor's house from the driveway, right?
I think if the board makes the best effort based on the architect's recommendation and the homeowner feels it's not enough, let the homeowner supplement additional plantings. I mean,
I think we take an individual request. You know, because there's no way you know who's going to come forward and say, I want this or that. So instead of making like a general statement or recommendation, we just take it one.
Well, the reason why I pointed out to him, was one of this being by an architectural firm actually, where the school district was a good intent for doing work on their school. And the house next door got full of mud. They power washed the house down. And then the next neighbor said, well, hey, my house got 32. And the school district was required to wash every house down in the neighborhood.
Why were they required? I think that's why you got
because they shouldn't have to do it to one, they can't, when I got to
that would have to be an attorney thing.
I remember that conversation. I think that's only one that.
But I think that's a different circumstance than what we're talking about. I think if we as a board do something and we make it open-ended, then yeah, we do this on an individual basis based on requests, which these people have requested. They send us a video about what it looks like and we're in good faith, saying, okay, we'll take care of it. Then I don't see why we wouldn't take another request and do the same thing and say, well, this doesn't meet the level of what we think we need to do.
Okay. Now let's put I'll count the plants on there, not just 375.
Well, why don't we say up to?
Up to $3,750?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed 10 plants.
That's what he said, to take about 10 plants up.
Yeah.
And they're big trees, you know how big they get, I mean.
They do get big,
even though,
but they're small when they first.
Right, but then you have to, the people have to understand that it's
right.
Take a while.
Right.
Big.
But even when it's big, it's just 375 each. Yeah, I think we should cap it too.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Not to exceed 10 plants.
And that's what was recommended by.
Yes, that was what was recommended by John Long. I actually spoke to him.
I mean, that's one, I guess. I mean, we could plant them and then they're not gonna grow, but they grow like 2 feet a year maybe. I mean, you could take a video a month from now, or maybe, I don't know who it is, but they could take a video a month from now, so they'll still see the traffic. You have that car line. You gotta be patient. We did what we could do.
But I think we wouldn't have to do this. We wouldn't even have to do this. We're doing it on good faith. I mean,
But we made a drastic change to.
we made a drastic change to the backhoe here.
I know, and actually, we actually had to add more plantings and stuff because we had water running off the side here and into the place, and so we did the neighborly thing, just let's fix it. We stayed here.
Right.
We had to fix that, right. So.
You put in additional drainage.
yeah, that's different because it was our thing on our property coming off of them. This is different. This is giving them.
This is feeding
If they aren't happy with that, then they can go ahead and plant trees on their side of the property to make it reasonable. I think in good faith, we're doing more than actually we need.
No, I have no, but that's not what I'm saying. You know, sometimes no good deed goes unpunished.
That's why you take it at one at a time.
Right, because now we're gonna, you know, the street lights up, you know, we have the higher lights up now going down this property, and that's the next one. The light is in my window. What are you gonna do?
We're not buying anybody shade. I think putting in a few trees is a good neighbor, and I don't think it affected anybody else's property along there that much.
And we have money in the general and the capital fund to fund that.
Yes, for that amount of money, yes.
Well, that's not a, it goes back to the same, I'm not trying to be fool, but we've had money left over, that we spent other money that wasn't, we had to buy other things, kind of capital fund, that we laid off on some other things. You know, sometimes we look at the small picture, we don't see the whole picture. Yeah, I have no problem with the plans, if you guys vote on it, I have no problem with it. I think it's a nice idea to do funding and all that, but, you know, yes, we have the money to do that. We have $4,000 to spend that, yeah. But where's that $4,000 being taken away from?
Right now, I'm looking at about $180,000 left in the capital project.
And our goal is always to keep it down, right?
Which would, you know, I mean, I would like to have more at the end, and we could have looked at other projects to work on. But if you feel that this is important to do for $3,750 out of $180,000 that's left, I don't see a problem. We can do it.
Well, we know, so we have 180,000 left, that is not enough to go ahead and we do playground, because we know that's more than that. But if it's not enough for that, we'll have to go.
Yeah, I mean, we've got money in the capital reserve for the playground from the grant monies.
Right, yeah.
And kind of earmarked to cover that playground, so there's more than enough over there.
Which I know we have to get voter approval.
Correct.
Too, so I thought we were thinking if we actually got enough left over at the end to do without the voter approval, go ahead and.
I don't think, at 180,000, I think the playground was gonna be more than 180,000.
And you're coming into the winter months, and you're coming into a supply problem that's just gotten worse, not better.
And Mike, do we have enough money if we decide to upgrade that new courtyard?
I have to I'm waiting for the pricing to see where that's gonna be left, where it's gonna leave
That's
us.
my point, that's my point.
Yeah, I don't know what the price of that's gonna be. I estimated 100.
Like, didn't we also put that in the
I put
estimate?
it in the ESSA grant, estimating it at $140,000.
Oh, we didn't get the grant, right?
Well, wait, it's been applied for, we're just waiting for the approval.
What in the courtyard?
The artificial surface to put in the courtyard instead of plantings in that new courtyard. Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
It was just a ballpark, it might be able to include everything, including picnic tables, you know, large board games like a chess set where kids could play, you know. Because part of the ESSA grant is one-time expenses, and also they're very supportive of outdoor learning. So we figured this would be.
Something like this, though, the $3,700 to see the easement, or the estimate.
Sorry, Pat, can you
To
repeat
see
that?
the easement, the pavement, $3,700 per pass. Did that go into that grant?
I'd have to look at it. It's possible. I just don't know the answer to that at this point.
Yeah, but the discussion really should be about, should we do this or not? If we're deciding not to do it, then we have to be really clear with these neighbors that we're not doing it.
No, I think, I'm not saying, I'm not being financially responsible for a false.
I understand, but I'm saying, if we didn't want to do this, it wouldn't be on the agenda, right?
Well, I didn't know it was on the agenda. That's the first time I saw it. So there was a discussion about it, and I didn't know on the agenda to vote on
Well, we have talked about it before.
it. I've never heard this
Yes,
concept.
we've had this conversation before.
I
We didn't
don't-
want to vote on it a while back.
I don't
so we put
recollect,
it off.
but I think about it.
And the subject of, I think it's something that came up early on, they talked to us about it, all that
Well, I
information was
must,
shared with us.
I'm just looking.
It's a year old, the discussion is a year old.
Well, it's a year old, but the point about these new, we did the original, like, they're not,
Yeah. But that was just part of the regular landscaping on the permit.
We put rhododendrons in, no, the rhododendrons don't go big. I'm not a landscaper, but I know rhododendrons for a long time.
But here's the thing, Pat, either we vote to do it or we don't. I mean, it's not something, no, I mean, the family or the household, they've asked us to do it because of the situation we put them in. We don't have to do it. We could say no and just go on. But now's
I'm not saying yes or no. I'll say that.
But that's what the thing is tonight, is to make a decision about whether we're gonna do it or not. It's on the agenda. So either we do it tonight or not. When you hear, it's,
So we table it till we get more information.
How much more information do we
Oh, no,
want?
but
We're in
that's
October, it's planting time, we're probably gonna end up planting in springtime, so
I think we put it up for a vote and we see where we come out, but I just, it's here. It's
I'll
so-
vote on it, yes, I'm just putting up my opinion on it.
Sure.
You know, and.
I'm just trying to get clarity.
These are things that get, little things like this add up, as we've been talking about.
Sure they do, but then that doesn't mean that it isn't right to do. Or it isn't appropriate to do right now. It's been talked about, it's on the agenda. Either we agree that we're going to do it or we don't.
So we're agreeing on 10 being capped at 10.
Correct.
not more than 10.
Not more than that, and they have to understand this is gonna take time for them to grow, and if they want to, there's enough room on their side of the property for them to add more if they want. They might want to double it up, or they might want to go with taller bushes every other one. But this is what we're doing.
But I mean, I think we're probably all going to agree to do it, but I think that brings up a good point. Just like, I think maybe we need a little more clarity as board on agenda items, making sure the board members are all clear on everything that's going in the agenda, and understanding. And hopefully, consensus, now obviously we're here discussing it, so that's what we have to have in public, but I think it needs to be clear that everybody got a chance to do it, look at it, understand it. And just the fact that wasn't aware that these trees were to be on the agenda. That's something that we should note of and make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, the agenda gets posted every Friday before the board meeting, so we had a discussion about moving our meeting to Tuesday to give people more time to look at it if people don't have time on the weekend. Every Friday, that agenda is up there. It's up there from Friday afternoon, to all day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Monday. And now we're gonna be moving to Tuesday, that'd be plenty of time.
Well, but I guess the fact that,
the agenda.
yeah, but maybe we should have more voices in on thinking the agenda. That could be a part of it.
Well, even the agenda itself said 375. It's saying 3750. Just 375.
Well, here again, that's the reason we have a discussion on agenda items at meeting, so that we can get clarification on this. So now we have clarification, it's not just 375, it's 375 for 10 trees. And
Up
that's
to.
what- Up
Up
to
to.
10, up to 10 trees. I mean, not take 10.
Not
trees.
to exceed 10
Not to-
plants.
So that's the clarification, which is typical of a discussion that you have at the board level. It's still on the agenda, it still needs to be either approved or not as we go forward. So again, I think it's important to have those clarifications, this discussion. But the bigger issue you're talking about is the little money here and there adds up in the end. And I think we're all aware of that. And especially after last week's meeting, we become even more aware of it. And I think what we're doing right now is trying to be conscious of doing the right thing, but also being aware of that too, Pat. Because I agree with you, we need to make sure that we, in the end, are able to take care of some things we may have to, whether legally or not, we may have to take care of them, and we need to make sure there's money. But in this case, I think it's not exceeding something that would get in the way of us continuing to do this.
They hear that, what are we approving under this plan?
Julie made the addendum
Okay.
that it's not to exceed 10 plants.
Okay, so we were right, that's not what we're looking at.
But Julie made the note.
Yeah, that's my point.
Julie will
We should
reflect.
be looking at the real hard number.
We just, go back to the stipends. We improved the stipends, the numbers aren't there.
I just found the numbers, it's $750 for the network. And
If they
for
choose-
service credit, it's first for the SBA fund.
So they have a choice of getting 750 or in-service credit. That's why it reads per the STA contract. So if somebody's fairly new, like a,
Right, but it's on, yeah, I don't mean to be a contract.
so next time we'll put 750 or in-service credit. But this is the way it's been done in the past.
Changed since So it'll be in the minute.
Again, I think it's a good process. If you look at the agenda on Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday, you see a blank, just give them a call and they'll put the number in so that, again, and if it isn't at the board meeting, I think that's where the discussion on each item is appropriate to do. Because consent item doesn't mean that you just automatically agree to it. It's there to look at and discuss if you need to, and then after the discussion, it goes up for adoption.
The agenda's up there early, specifically before the meeting. Not mentioned about it. You can ask about why is there, what's this amount? What's that? You can ask them. That's why it's posted earlier than the meeting.
And I agree with you. If everything's there, it's good information. It's good information, but when it comes to time, like right now, and you have a question about it or you're concerned, then you certainly can bring it up and we can talk.
Well, I mean, I think this is the perfect example. When was this change from the 375 each planted to adding the number of the tree?
And we just sent out.
So that's my point. So, if this was posted on Friday, we could have stared at this Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But you could
have
called.
It doesn't, but we would have never known to be like, well, how many are you?
But then you could have called and asked that question, said, Deb, can you put in a number of plants? How many plants does Don Longo recommend?
Yeah, the dollar amount, the total dollar amount.
But you could have done that Saturday, Sunday.
But that would be common sense for you to put that. That should be an onus on us to say, how many, I mean, that should be like, if you're putting up the agenda and you know it's going to be 375 per plan, that onus is on you to put that in. You don't put the onus on us to
No,
decide
I'm
how
just
many
saying,
trees.
ask the question. If I miss something, ask the question, and then I was prepared tonight to tell you how many plants he's recommending.
Okay. I mean, that's fine, like, let us know now, but it would have been good to have this in on Friday when the agenda was posted. I guess it's up. That's fine. So we're gonna cap it at a certain number. Good.
And certainly all resolutions should have an actual
Not to exceed, and then
not to exceed or an actual number or a not to exceed something related.
And again, in the future, if it happens, could be an oversight if we adjust it in there. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Item F is an exclusion contract with Bridgehampton Union Free School District for a special ed student to attend there instead of staying at East Hampton. Item G is another exclusion contract with Southampton, same circumstances. And that concludes the finance items.
Do I have a motion to consider items A through G to consent agenda? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I did receive some questions on enrollment. I wanted to know the difference between September's number when we opened up school and currently we are up 66 students, total K-8. That does not include the 28 high school students from September's original report.
From the first of September?
The other thing to look at is on the bottom of these sheets are previous dates. So this is as of October. But if you go all the way along the bottom, you'll see a July 14th one. Okay, so I don't know if you're aware of that. So, okay, yeah, so there are numbers along the bottom. So that's why I went back and I was able to see the progression from month to month, from board meeting to board meeting. And that's where we have landed on October 13th. Our total enrollment without pre-K is 669 students, where in 2021 we were at 610 without. So with pre-K, we're at 703 compared to last year with pre-K, 640.
We're almost at 100 new students just
Yes,
in our district.
yes. And it's very similar to East Hampton, by the way. East Hampton saw about an increase of 100 new students that registered. Your class sizes are still good. I'm very grateful that we stayed with the 4 sections in most grades, with the exception of 5th grade. 3rd grade is your next lowest grade with 17 in each class.
If I'm not mistaken, that goes along with the enrollment projection that we looked at 6 years ago.
Yes.
For the growth in this community and the reason that we needed to do something with the kids. Yeah. So again, it's just, it's, and I think there's different reasons now than it was back 6 years ago, but at the same time, it still seems like the projection is staying true to what it was predicted to do over time.
The other question that Todd asked was that breakdown of high school students was almost in half. 13, 14 students locally. There was only 1 student from New York City. We did not get many from New York City. 1 from Massapequa, several from East Hampton, and from Sag Harbor, which the Sag Harbor kids usually never transfer into Springs. And what we've learned is most of those people are able to sell their homes in Sag Harbor and buy something in Springs.
I think that's the trend, is that people have been selling their houses in those areas that have really high real estate in the last year, and then taking that money and moving to someplace where they can, reinvest them in the houses.
And one of the parents who moved in from Sag Harbor did compliment us on spring school. They've been following spring school and are comfortable putting her children. I think she has family in spring. So the other 13 or so students are from Ecuador and what's the other one? Guatemala. And they are English.
And are we going to take the residency residents?
Yes, Tina Giles has reached out to me. She's back and she'll be doing residency checks. My concern more than anything else is the number of multiple families living in houses for safety reasons more than anything else. The fire that was on Springs Fireplace Road, fire marshal told me to take down mattresses in the basement.
That was last night.
Oh, no, I didn't hear about last night. There was one, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I mean, we are not, home inspectors, but we will just confirm. They kind of welcome her. She speaks Spanish, and the kids are here, and someone's home during the day. And, she's very nice to the people, and she just kind of confirms who's in the house and checks off her list, and she sends us a report.
Yeah, the only enrollment is, so like some of the information, 25, 3 sections in 7th grade, there's 25, we have enough space in that room with open curriculum?
Yes, 3 feet apart. We're not 6 feet apart anymore. And any of the students that are sitting at tables, they're 3 feet apart, like the science lab tables, because remember, some of the homerooms are in science lab, are in technology. They're 3 feet apart. The regular sized classrooms for 8th grade are wonderful. They're not only are they spacious, they have beautiful windows that open. The science lab has more than enough space. The technology lab has more than enough space. It's your older classroom.
That's what I'm asking about the older classroom. Are they?
They're still 3 feet apart. We've been trying to balance the classes out, as I said, being very creative to look at students that can benefit from being in the enrichment program, the accelerated program, rather than, sitting where they are to reduce those numbers.
25, almost 47.
In maybe one section, there's 27, but the average is 25. That's the average.
So I guess a lot of these involved
Let's see where we are we get a lot of children that disenroll in February. They don't come back after Christmas vacations, or going to visit their families. Let's see what that brings us. And that means a whole new schedule as well as an additional classroom. Because then you're basing it on 10 sections versus 9 sections. And we've always operated with 9 sections for the junior high. The only year that we didn't was last year. We operated on 10 because of COVID.
There's a lot of big things that's not that true. What it was, there's a lot of work to do on the high school next year, right?
I spoke to Fred Thiel again, Barbara and Tim, and I went to him before COVID hit about setting up a reserve for tuition. And he told me today he would resurrect that resolution and, they're back and bring that forward on our behalf so that we can save for blips like this.
Families that come back, children back to Guatemala, their families are here.
Yes, for the most part, yes.
And so they're not English speaking students.
Correct.
So we don't have another teacher.
You did. You added one allocation.
When did you hire? September or after? Before this or after that?
Juana Loja was our last hire. We hired her at the last board meeting. She changed her salary. I changed her tenure date. I made a mistake on the tenure date. Yeah, she taught last year because of COVID. We had to reduce. We couldn't blend the kids. We were separate cohorts. So we didn't rehire her back because now we're not cohorting anymore. Instead, we hired her back because our enrollment went up in the E&L program. Right? And we are going through an E&L audit. All the documentation has been sent to us. We spoke about that before. That's a free audit. They look at the certifications of our staff. They look at our testing for E&L. They determine if we're exiting students properly. So once that report is completed, of course, we'll share it with the Board of Education.
And there's enough space now with all the E&L?
Yeah, you've got to be really proud. The only ones sharing a space are the E&L up here on the stage. And they each have about 400 square feet each. One Lozier and Robbie Mayer are sharing the stage, the old stage.
Is that because their classroom's not ready, or that's where their classroom is going to be all year?
That's where their classroom's going to be all year. But out of you got to remember how many people were sharing rooms last year. Speech and OT were sharing a room. Reading teachers, there were 2 and 3 reading teachers to a room. So last year you had 2 reading teachers on the old stage with Sean Gibbons. I'm looking at him, all up on that stage. This year there's 2 E&L teachers, so they're perfect for that stage. They would have 800 for one teacher, where the small instructional spaces are about, 700, Mike? The new small instructional spaces.
Yeah, about 700.
That's nice square footage. And all the doors, by the way, all the old doors were repaired. A lot of them were not closing properly. The door repairman was here. A lot of the plumbing issues that are our responsibilities. The plumber was here today. He has to come back and do some work on a Saturday. So we're checking things off our list. Remember, we've got capital going, but we've got regular maintenance also going. And the staff have been incredibly patient with the process. They really have. As long as they know we have things on their radar and we're checking things off our offices.
Yeah, we're also here doing a tune-up on boilers downstairs. Get ready for the heating season.
Now, how come they moved the books there to the gym and not the commons room where they used to be? Just because you thought it was more room, or?
It's
That's
not as distracting to those classrooms along the commons. I mean, you know, and one more week that they can't get in there for, you know, adaptive PE is not an issue. But it's very noisy with the book fair in the commons. We had no other space for the book fair in the past, but now we had it. It was beautiful today. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah, it's bright, you know, the lighting is good.
You don't have to break it down.
Nope.
Leave it up the whole week.
Yeah. Lock the door. Most can't go in there. You can lock up the commons area. Any questions on enrollment? I do want to talk about the fifth grade opera, and this is a discussion item. I'm going to meet my report, but I have the opera teachers wanting to move opera from fourth grade to fifth grade. They like fifth grade for a couple of reasons. Those kids missed out on the opportunity of fourth. It is also the smallest group of students versus fourth grade. They think it'll be very manageable. I have the numbers that there are only 58 students versus 80 in fourth grade.
Well, next year, those 8 are going to be great.
But by then, maybe COVID is going to be something of the past. We're trying to bring everything back, but we're still trying to bring some back things safely.
Wanted to move the fourth grade opera to permanently fifth grade opera.
Correct.
We have a middle school play for 6, 7, and 8.
Correct.
And the beauty of the middle school play, when it was created a few years back, was there was nothing for the older grades, and we had this opera for the younger grades. And now there's no gap between. It's going to work. There's nothing for the younger grades. For performance, you're taking away the fourth grade, and now you're going to give it to the fifth grade, and then the very next year you're eligible for the middle school. So it's kind of like you're kind of like taking away fourth grade opportunity for a younger grade to get an opportunity.
Recommendation is coming from the teachers that actually run it. They really do believe that the fifth graders will be able to write the story better. They'll be able to write the music better.
Well, I mean, you weren't here, you have 5 years, and you've seen some of the opposite. You're a lot longer than I've been around, and it's always been fourth grade. So I don't know if I'd be committed to just changing it forever to a fifth grade opera. I mean, I'd be open to doing it this year because we missed out on it last year, but I don't know. That's just,
Yeah, but
I'm not really sold on
But then
that.
next year, but then next year that group would miss out.
It just seems odd that we would grade it fifth grade, and then the very next year, the middle school play, which is something we've graded the last few years, would grades 6, 7, and 8. So it's like, basically, it's 5, 6, 7, and 8 get an opportunity. But if you're under grade 5, there's no opportunity for you.
I mean, we used to have the first grade play, first grade play, I think. That's by the wayside a long time ago.
I'm just bringing forward the recommendations.
I don't know.
I like the nice, I understand the people's point, you know. I just, you know, because that's my reason why it was chosen 30 years, for 30 years, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's part of the, it started with the Metropolitan Opera.
Yeah.
So you need to go back to see what they say and what their criteria was and why they chose fourth grade. The second thing is I thought that at least those students that were in the opera got to be mentors for the fourth grade, the up and coming fourth grade and fifth grade. So that you had a opportunity for those fourth grade opera kids to, in the fifth grade, come back as mentors for the fourth grade. And if you put it all together, that's not a really good, you have the fifth graders now looking toward, there's no chance for mentors.
your sixth graders are gonna be doing a play, and they're gonna be mentoring this, I think that's gonna get adjusted there. I was always under the impression that they chose fourth grade because of where kids are developmentally at that age and.
I'm not looking for fourth grade. They do a great performance, and everyone I've been. But now I'm looking for, they got a heavy, or whatever you get it for, like. I mean, it's doing a great job with it, fourth grade. But they're looking for writing and production. Size-wise, that's one thing. But the next place will be the same size.
And how much is it to do the opera?
Oh, gosh.
We
You
budgeted
just,
20,000 or so.
yeah, you added it all up. Julie, can you go back to the last board meeting where they approved the opera?
To me, it's which teachers are willing to do this. I mean, you can say, okay, you put it back in fourth grade, but you have any staff that will do it.
They're waiting, they're behind schedule.
Right.
Is waiting for the board to say yes or no. They will, if you want them to do fourth grade, they'll do fourth grade. They'll make it work with the 80 students. They just thought it was unfair that the fourth grade lost out to fifth grade.
But that could be like from now on, forever.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's ever gonna catch up.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you say to the fifth grade, because it's a small group, that they're eligible to do the middle school?
That's what I thought.
Because, again, I know coming from intermediate school, we had 5, 6, 7, and 8 students together.
We could do that.
I think that may be a more reasonable approach right now, because
All they're doing is waiting for approval and they'll get started. If you want to keep it at fourth grade, they'll make it work.
yeah,
But is there, or can we offer the fifth grade, or to offer them a similar opportunity with something just for them?
I think they don't have time, they go right from the opera to the middle school play.
I think the middle school plays a good opportunity. You have more kids because, and it's not a lot of kids, so.
And they do the plays after sports. They don't do them after school, right? So they wait until the kids come back from sports and go into. Okay? So it's fourth grade. Thank you.
For items of old business, we have minutes to approve. So, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the minutes from the August 9th regular meeting, August 9th work session, August 23rd public hearing, August 23rd regular meeting, September 3rd special meeting, September 20th regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? And it's now time for public commentary number 2. If anybody would care to address the board about any of these matters or anything else, you have 3 minutes to do so. Anyone here or watching on LTV.
Yeah, we have 0 callers on the line. Thank you.
We'll just give them a minute, Matt. We bring it off the hook soon. Oh, yes.
I only have one thing to say. And it's really not about any of the items on the agenda. It's the discussions that go on that probably sometimes seem a little frustrating, but I think it's an excellent example of a team that works well together, that's transparent, and that can come to some consensus. So, though at times it must be frustrating for some of you or all of you, I thank you for taking the time to do that.
I mean, that's really what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be conducting our business in public, and it's easy to say, oh, maybe, we don't want to, let's just talk about this before we don't have an argument or something in public, but that's not what's supposed to happen. Really, this is what
And for expediency and whatnot, and being able to come to a meeting with plans and information that sometimes has to be done prior to, and I understand that. But the fact is that you can still have a discussion about items and then say, no, we need to table that, or no, we need to agree to that. And, you know, the good things don't always look the most beautiful, but it works.
As long as we're nice.
Yeah, there you go.
And also know with everything being videotaped, you know, it's very easy to catch up on this meeting. You know,
Yes.
in the past, you know, superintendent would usually, you know, Dave and I have spoken on the phone, but now that these are all videotaped, it's very easy to watch a board meeting if you miss one to see what was discussed.
On that note, Matt, has anyone else called in yet?
0 callers. Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Thank you all for coming for the ribbon cutting. I hope you had a piece of
No,
cake.
thank you. Thank you for putting that together. It's great. It was good. It's hard.
The cake was good. Special thanks to Jess Cohen for making the cake for us, incoming parent.
I was really impressed by the number of our community members, especially who represent community members. And it's hard for all the community to get here, but we had a great representation from all of our local governments, local communities, from the police to the Fred to former board members. It was great. So thank you.
So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Okay.
Well, just-
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.